What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is a series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the Expedite 12 shotgun. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our range comparison here. And for a semi-auto at least, we've got a very respectable one-shot kill range with the Expedite 12. Our one-shot kill potential is 10 meters, and the range at which you're effectively guaranteed a one-shot kill, even with a fairly inaccurate hipfire, this is 4.1 meters. As for a rate of fire, this is 127 rounds per minute, and what this means is with a two-shot kill, it's going to take you 472 milliseconds to kill, which is quite a slow time to kill in this game, so you really want to try to get that one shot, and the second shot is more of just a bonus if you manage to have time. Then let's have a look at our hipfire, and since it is a semi-auto, it does fall in with the KV broadside, and these do have the worst hipfire spread in the shotgun category. But then I did want to show that when you aim down sight, you will be tightening your pellet spread very nicely with the Expedite 12, and while it may be a bit awkward with a semi-auto, I do often find aiming down sight is still very beneficial with this gun. And speaking of aim down sight, our aim down sight time for a shotgun is pretty decent at 320 milliseconds. And our sprint to fire time is also great at 160 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 260 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. Next, let's have a look at our reload time, and when the gun is not empty, we're able to pop the first shot in 1.3 seconds, and then every shot after that will take about 0.93 seconds. Whereas if we fire the gun all the way to empty, the first round is actually loaded faster than the first round when it's not empty, which is a bit strange. However, there is an extended animation between the first and second shell that you reload, and this is what will make our total reload time very noticeably slower compared to when we don't run the gun right till empty. So there's plenty of complicated numbers here. Essentially, what you want to know with this is you want to avoid running it right down to zero. You always want to be topping up the shotgun whenever you get an opportunity. And then finally, for the base stats of this gun without attachments, let's have a look at our mobility stats, and the Expedite 12 actually excels in this area. It's the best across the board for shotguns, especially with that aim walking movement speed. We've actually got a very solid aim walking movement speed, which is great. And with that, let's start moving into the attachments, and we're going to start this off with barrels and how they impact our ranges. And as we can see here, only 2 of the barrels have an impact on our range, and it's only a 4% reduction with both of those, so that's really negligible. But on the right side of the screen there, you'll also notice that our tube capacity will change with the length of the barrel, so that's probably the more important aspect you want to look at if you decide to use a barrel. Now, on top of barrels, there's also several muzzle attachments that will have an impact on our ranges. And these are going to be with suppressors as well as chokes, and I'm just going to put the values up on screen here. It turns out the best range increase you can get on this gun is 14%, and 2 of our suppressors will give us that boost, although I would recommend the SA MX50 if you are going to choose one of these, simply because it doesn't hurt our aim down sight time nearly as much. But after that, I did want to take a look at how our aim down sight pellet spread is affected by various attachments. And with the barrels, it's worth noting only one of the barrels says that it changes our pellet spread. That's the 14-inch polarized barrel, which gives us a wider pellet spread, which you can clearly see there. It's about a 40% increase based on my hand testing. However, I did want to point out for the 14-inch shorty barrel and the 18.5-inch Battlemaster barrel, both of these appeared to give us a slightly tighter pellet spread, even though it's not stated. And the final barrel, that 419mm Schlager Salvo, this one also appears to widen our pellet spread, even though that's not a stated stat with that barrel. Now, as for the chokes, you can see they get progressively tighter as you continue to move to the right, and the best choke for the tightest pellet spread is once again going to be that Bryson choke. Next, let's have a look at the 2 bolt attachments we can use on this, and these will both have an impact on our rate of fire. The L bolt will increase our rate of fire to 145 rounds per minute, which then improves our time to kill potential, whereas the HZ3 bolt will reduce our rate of fire down to 114 rounds per minute. Now finally, for attachments, before we get into the unique ammunition with this, we have the attachments that impact our sprint out time. And with this, we have the usual 5 laser and flashlight attachments that we can put on this. All of them are going to help quite nicely with our sprint out time, but the best in this case is the EXF solar flare. Then when it comes to stocks, we have one stock that will slow down our sprint out time. This is the Bryson Reverb stock, whereas we have another stock that will improve our sprint out time, and this is the Resonance stock Collapsed. And then finally, there is a rear grip that you can use. This is the Schlager Void Grip, and this will very nicely improve our sprint out time, but you have to be using the right stock attachment in order to unlock the ability to use this rear grip. If you're just using the default stock on the gun, you won't be able to use this Void Grip. And with that, we can finally move into the unique ammunition for this, and the first one is going to be Dragon's Breath. And with this, we technically very slightly increase our one-shot kill potential, but that's a negligible increase when it comes to our maximum one-shot kill. However, we should be getting a more consistent 3 pellet kill out to just over 5 meters rather than 4 meters. However, that only seems to apply to enemies that aren't using bomb squads, so you do lose some consistency against bomb squad users, while gaining some extra consistency against non-bomb squad users. But another really key thing to point out is after that 10-meter range, we can't get a 2-shot kill with Dragon's Breath, whereas we absolutely can without Dragon's Breath. And our total range is also very noticeably reduced here, down to about 17 or 18 meters. So as a result, I personally stay away from Dragon's Breath. I could see maybe some utility for a niche build if you're not playing against many bomb squad users, but I'd rather have the overall versatility of the standard buckshot over Dragon's Breath. As for slugs, we get a great consistent one-shot kill anywhere in the torso and arms, so basically anywhere but the legs, out to 9 meters, so it's very consistent within that range. But then we immediately drop off to an upper torso, neck, or head only one-shot kill. And that's a fairly small area to hit. Normally you'd also have a torso damage range here with slugs, but not in the case of the Expedite. And that extends out to about 18.5 meters. And then beyond that, from about 18 meters to 33 meters, we have to hit a headshot if we want to get a one-shot kill. And then after 33 meters, we can't get a one-shot kill with a slug. So overall, I'd say unless you're actively going for long shot camos, I'd recommend staying away from slugs on the Expedite. It just doesn't really excel with them in this game. And it's the same story with the explosive slug. While all of our ranges are increased very noticeably compared to the standard slug, we still lose that one-shot kill potential completely at 47 meters, and then just like with all of the other shotguns, any bomb squad users will prevent you from being able to get a one-shot kill, even with a point-blank headshot. So I generally recommend staying away from explosive rounds as well. And with that, we can finally move into some excellent attachment combinations with the Expedite 12. And the first one I'm going to share with you guys is my all-arounder. And I absolutely love this build. It took me a little while to optimize things just right. And you do have to treat it right as well. You have to know when to aim down sight versus when to hip fire. But once you get that nailed down, this is incredibly versatile and fun to use. So with this, we're using the Bryson Choke, the VLK Laser 7mW, the Collapsed Stock, the Expedite L-Bolt, and then finally the Void Grip. Now, you'll also notice I have done some tuning on this. Tuning is, of course, optional when it comes to this, but the main benefit you'll notice from tuning on this is our sprint out time is nearly instant. This is one of the fastest sprint out times in the entire game at just 50 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 100 milliseconds for a tactical sprint out time. So you can sprint into fights no problem with this and get shots off almost immediately. Additionally, our aim down sight pellet spread is ridiculously tight if we want to stretch that range out a little bit. We're going to get a lot more consistency with that one-shot kill all the way out to 10.4 meters. And while we don't really have anything on this class that increases our ranges by a noticeable amount, that's okay. None of the barrels help us there, and I don't want to use a suppressor on this. I'd rather have that Bryson Choke. But what I've found with this build is between 0 to 6 meters or so, that's where you can just hip fire, and as long as you're reasonably centered, you should get very consistent one-shot kills with hip fire. Then, once you get beyond about 6 meters or so, this is when you should try to get aim down sight on your target so you can maintain that one-shot kill out to 10.4 meters. But that's how you use this particular build. We do have a very fast aim down sight time, so it's not a big deal at all to try to get aim down sight as soon as you start stretching your ranges out. But right up close and personal, don't bother aiming down sight, just hip fire, and you should find very consistent one-shot kills. So that's the first build, and honestly the build I'm going to be using 99% of the time if I use the Expedite 12. However, I did want to share a slug build for anybody that just likes using slugs, or maybe you're grinding those long shot camos. This is the slug build that I was able to come up with. So with this, we're once again using the Bryson Choke. This is to tighten up that aim down sight spread, which does apply to slugs as well. We once again have the VLK Laser 7mW, the Slimline Pro Optic, the Bryson Reverb 55 stock. This helps with recoil a bit, which is actually important when we're talking slugs with a semi-auto shotgun. And then finally, of course, we have the 12 gauge slug. Now with this, our aim down sight time is 312 milliseconds, which is improved from the base. Our sprint out time is slightly slower than the base, but still a great sprint out time that you shouldn't have to worry about. And when you look at our ranges on the right side of the screen, you really want to try to keep yourself within 18.5 meters. Anything beyond that, you need a headshot. And then beyond 33 meters, you can't even get a one-shot kill on a full health enemy. So you can't quite treat this almost like a sniper rifle like you can with the Lockwood, for instance. You still need to be playing fairly up close and personal for consistency. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the Expedite 12. As for my thoughts on this shotgun, I do consider it to be a bit weird for a semi-auto shotgun. I find that spamming this like you normally would with a semi-auto shotgun in Call of Duty, it just doesn't work as well with the Expedite, and I instead like to treat this more like it's a pump action. Now, I have that spam ability in my back pocket if I really need it. If there's multiple enemies on the screen, for instance, absolutely, I'll spam away. But for the most part, in a 1 versus 1 gunfight, I try to make sure I'm really precise with my shots. I try to make sure I'm centered nicely before firing if I'm right up close and personal and going to hip fire. Or if I get beyond about 5 or 6 meters, I always try to get aim down sight with this, and that tends to yield far more consistent one-shot kills. I don't want to rely on the 2-shot kill potential because the time to kill in that case is simply too slow. Once I figured that interaction out, I've actually been finding a ton of success with the Expedite, and I really enjoy using this shotgun. But at first, I was a bit skeptical with this shotgun when I was just trying to treat it like a spammable hip-fire semi-auto. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts on the Expedite 12, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments down below. And also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.